Hello and welcome to the Innovator Podcast. Today we are joined by Gianni. Thank you so much for joining us today, Gianni. We really appreciate your time. If you could just introduce yourself briefly so that the audience knows who you are and what you do.
Okay. Hello, Harry. Thank you for hosting me. Yes, I'm Gianni, and I'm a dentist like Harry, and this is what I do for for work. And I am I don't know, a psychonaut. I don't know how to if it's the right word. Like I'm a person that is, but it was and it's still really interested in psychedelic. I started to do it on a personal level to myself to self discover myself, and then this brought me to discover a lot of things, a lot about these tools that we can use for ourselves.
And you're living a bit of a nomadic lifestyle, aren't you? And there's a little through line because Mohammed Bouaziz, who we've had on the podcast before, you guys met organically in Morocco, I think it was. So what's led to you living that nomadic lifestyle? Because it is a very unique way of living nowadays.
Mm. Yeah, exactly. For me, nomadic life was something that I don't know was something that I was already on a path of discovering myself, and I saw that, like, for discovering myself truly I have to be in different environment, and this different environment can give me different inputs, and so from these inputs I can discover best myself and discover the world I have around me. And yes, now it's almost 4 years, because it's 4 years that I have my van. I was
I've seen
living
the
in
van on
Berlin.
Instagram. I've seen the van. It looks cool, man.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's 4 years. I bought, not I bought, because I didn't pay my van. This was like a present from the universe. The universe bring this van to my life just when I was needing to have a van. Because I was in Berlin, and in Berlin the rental situation, or the apartment is crazy. They are super expensive, and even if you find an apartment, you never find a long term contract. You start to 3 months, 6 months, that's it. So I said, okay, like, maybe if I have a van, like, when I find an apartment, I will stay in an apartment. When I will not have an apartment, I don't have to go to hotel, Airbnb, hostel, or whatever. Then basically, after 3 days that I had this idea, one guy called me, because I had a motorbike. This motorbike, I built it by myself, just from scratch, from pieces. But then, like, I don't know, I built it. It was cool, but then it was too much slow for me. Because
Hmm.
before I had a Ducati motorbike, really fast, and I said this was not for me. So this guy called me and tell me, look, like, I like your motorcycle, but I don't have money. I have a van. Like, do you want to exchange it? And they say, like, oh, look, this is what I'm looking for. Just send me some pictures. He sent me the picture of this van, of my van, and they say, like, oh, it looks perfect. So I went back to Sicily, because this van was in Sicily, and my motorbike too, and we just exchanged. And I went
Wow.
back to Berlin, and I start to live in the van. Then was like start to be cold, like, was November, and I said, okay, like, I need an apartment. So I went to an apartment, and then Corona happened, and Corona happened when I was changing apartment, because of course, because my rental contract was ending. It was just 3 months contracts, and I said, okay, like, I need new places. Corona happened. I'm Italian, and I felt really, like, was really hard for me to find an apartment, because I was from Italy, and people tell me, like, oh, sorry, you are from Italy, like, we don't want to have Italians right
Oh,
now. Yeah, because of, yeah, I was feeling really like such a racist sort of stuff was really strange for me. So I said, okay, like, this is the sign of the universe that I have to stay in my van. And so then I lived for 7 months in my van in Berlin. I found a really nice spot, and this was the starting of my van life. This was before was like cool. Before was you have the hashtag van life in Instagram, and yeah, and
so
from
you started off, Gianni, in Italy. Did you? And is that where you grew up? And then when did you become a dentist? Like how many years ago was that?
Yeah, I graduated in 2011, so it's almost
Wow.
12 years that I'm working as a dentist, and it's a family business. My father is a dentist too, and even like
Uh,
my grandfather, he was a barber. You know, but he had a barber shop, and in New York, he was living in New York, and you know, at that time, the barber the barber shop was the dental practice too, because they were extracting too there. So it's really
yeah.
family business. Yeah, so
And
basically,
how is you've sorry to cut you off there, Johnny.
no, no.
You've put on Instagram that you're a conscious dentist. What does that mean to you, and how does what you do differ from, let's say, maybe what you got taught at university? Is there any differences? Are there any things that you've changed?
You mean in my practice as a dentist?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
for me, it's like when I start to discover myself, like in a we can say spiritual way. I understood that we are not just this physical body. That this physical body, what we can actually see, is a really tiny fraction of what we are. And when then we don't have only this physical body, we have an astral body, an etheric body, we have our higher self. You can give a lot of names to what we have that is not material. And so I start to think that, okay, like, but if we have other bodies, other part of ourselves that are not just the physical one, but they are strictly connected to our body, to this body, how it's possible that you know, illness or whatever is not connected to what we don't see. So like I start to look for the connection between our physical body and our spiritual body, our etherical body, and was not so easy because there is no clinical research. There are not so many things that you can find on this topic. But then I discovered the Dentosophic practice. I don't know if you know about Dentosophia. Is the No, Dentosophia basically is based on the Rudolf Steiner study on Anthroposophia. Rudolf Steiner tell this that we are not our physical body, that we are more than this. We have other parts of ourselves that they are not visible, and this invisible part are strictly connected with our physical part. And even in the way we get illness and we can be healed, we can find a relationship. And Dentosophia basically this concept that what the Steiner just introduced was not developed by him. Then a French dentist, Michel Montaud, he start to put his effort on this. He start to make study, research, and he is a pioneer of Dentosophia. So one colleague, one another dentist is one of my best friend. He told me, oh, like I heard about this Dentosophic, it looks interesting, and I know that you are in this path of like discovering more your spiritual side. So I start to look for him. I bought a couple of books. I start to read and look online specific on this topic, and I found like, wow, like this is what I was looking for. And yeah, and this is so I discovered a lot of stuff that really helped me to change my way to see the mouth, to see the teeth, to see the way we develop, the way we swallow the saliva, the way we grind our teeth if we are nervous. All this stuff really, uh, for me now, make sense. Because before there was no explanation for me. They made, okay, you are not swallowing good, and this is the way you can change it. You put this bite, you put this, and this change, but they don't explain like why we have this function.
Mm,
That's it.
that's interesting. That's very interesting. I'm gonna have to look into that, Gianni. You're gonna have
Yeah.
to DM me the details, maybe a website or something I can check out about it. It sounds really cool, though. One thing that I wanted to ask, and I ask everyone, is you've talked about being a dentist. You've talked about bringing this kind of newer relationship between the spiritual body and the physical body into your practice. But let's go a bit kind of higher level. What do you see as your purpose? What do you see as your mission on this life in this life on this earth? What's the North Star for Gianni?
For me, my North Star is, well, I have one North Star is just personal. It's just for what I want to for me, and then is what I want that maybe the reflection of what I will look for me will be helpful for the others. And for me it's just about discovering myself more and more and more. And The way I do it is just looking to myself with a perspective of something bigger than just my physical body. And for me, like, my purpose, my aim for the Dentosophic work right now is to make more as much people as possible aware of this condition of the way that we have not our physical body, that we can heal in a different way, and not just with wires, not just with drills, not just with pills, chemical stuff. This is what it's something that I start to be really skeptical about the Western medicine. And yeah, this is my aim. I want to look for a more natural way to heal people. This is my purpose, I think.
That's a great answer, and I have to say, like, a lot of people who are listening might be dentists and they might be thinking, oh, but that's not the way that you do it. But one thing that I would challenge you all with is that how long have we actually been doing Western dentistry in terms of in relation to how long humans have actually been on this planet? And the time frame is very short. So it would be arrogant of us to think that we've got all the answers, that we understand this is exactly how it should be done, because we really don't have that much time. The time that we have of doing this type of work is, 100 years. It's not much long. Is it 100 years, Gianni? Something like that? So,
Yeah.
as you mentioned, the barbers were doing dentistry, in your family, and I've seen that, those relics in museums and stuff in the British Dental Association of barber chairs that used to do it. So it's crazy. So, but it's a young profession. It's not that old, So it's one of those things where we've got to really have an open mind to these things, and I do think that's really important. One thing that you mentioned, Gianni, that I wanted to touch on maybe before we started the podcast was psychedelics. You obviously set up this Berlin psychedelic meetup, which got kind of integrated with the Berlin Psychedelic Society, and where people could discuss their experiences. When did you first interact with psychedelics yourself, and what did you find, and how valuable was that to you? And what's your journey been like since then with psychedelics?
Really interesting question. And yes, like for me, like I never been like a person that was looking for drugs, because a lot of people think of psychedelics as are drugs. I always been like really quiet person. I just like drinking a bit, then smoking some joint, but not in a really like toxic way. Like, but then for me, psychedelic, I had my first really psychedelic experience when I was already 33 years old. Now I'm almost 38. So I was already like was a grown up man. I was not like it was not the typical experience of the teenager guy that go to discotheque and take stuff like this or festival. Uh, and Yeah, for me was the first experience was not even what I was looking for. For me was like I was in Palermo. I'm from Sicily, and I'm from the south of Sicily, like a small village. But in that period, I moved to Palermo. It is the capital of Sicily, and there was this electronic music festival that was not the common one. It was made with university, with the art academy. So it was something that was really made in a nice way, not just a party. And and basically there was this session where we were in this theater with a giant movie screen and a big sound system. And I took some MDMA because I have this MDMA like with his friends, and I was like, oh, like, let's take some MDMA, it will be fun. I said, like, oh, okay, let's do it. And I was in this theater, and we took this MDMA, and then all this video audio show started, and I start to feel really my body was start to change. All the feelings, all the vibration, all the sound was really going inside of me. And at a certain moment, this was the peak of the experience. I start to look at my body, and my body start to disappear, basically.
Wow.
Yes, I saw my hand. They just depixelize, like it was as pixel of the computer. Just my body uh, was not there anymore, and I was not anymore in the theater. I was not even on Earth. I don't know where I was in that moment. And basically everything disappeared. There was like this sort of gray space around me, and this in this gray space, then sort of like points of light start to blink. They start to blink, and I say like, "What is this?" And when I was looking precisely in one of these dots, I was going inside uh, events of my life. I was seeing that this is when I made this is when this person hurt me, this is when my father made this is when I went to this place. I was really looking all my life in these dots of light, and then
Wow.
suddenly a spark of light, like a flash, connected all these dots, like a like this, and I saw, and basically in this connection there was all my life there, since I born till that moment, was all there and was all connected, was not like randomly. Everything I made in my life till that moment was because I had to experience this and that sensation in that moment, in that context, to realize that like everything happened for a reason. There are no coincidence, there is no random stuff, that everything is made for a reason. And for me the message was everything is made for a reason, and this reason is you, is to discover that you are not just Gianni. Gianni is just a name, is not who you really are. Uh, so I had this experience. I understood that there is something more outside, that not just my physical body. And then I basically, after this experience, I went back to my physical body. I went back to the theater, to my friends, but I was not anymore the person I was before this experience. I was changed. I was what I had was really an incredible experience. So when the music stopped, we just the light went on, and I just stepped up from the chair. I went outside, and the world was not the world I was experienced before. Was everything was really changed. And from that experience, I start to be curious. Then I say, "Oh, like what happened to me?" Because this kind of sensation that I had was not was it lasts more and more days. Was more than, I think, 1 month. That I was feeling this energy inside my body. I was more aware of the energy of the people, of my surrounding, of the nature. I was able to look for a tree, look at a tree for 10 minutes. Like, oh, this tree is nice. Look the leaves, look the. I was not the person who I was before. Before I was really more materialistic, more like uh, I don't know. Was just different. So from this experience, I start to be more interested on psychedelics. I start to try different tools, different psychedelics. LSD was my second tool. Then I went to an ayahuasca ceremony, and it was an incredible experience. Then mushroom. Then basically I start to try everything I was able to try, because I was really curious about this. But yeah, this is what I like from my experience, that I made it in a conscious way. I made it in a way that, okay, I understood that these tools uh, are great for discovering something more about myself, about the reality. So I want to use this tool for because I'm curious, because I because I want to know more. So this is the pattern of my approach with psychedelics. I never took psychedelics for having fun or for going to party or just for escaping from a reality that I didn't like. This is what most of the people that are not conscious about this they are doing. So this is my approach to psychedelics as tools for opening some doors.
Yeah, I love that, man. I love that because it sounds very similar. I first did it when I was 31, 32, psychedelics. So yeah, so definitely some similarities there. That MDMA experience sounds amazing, and I've got a couple of friends who've reported similar things with music events
Mm.
as well. So that's cool, man, and I really do like that. I think one thing that I always say is I don't see it as a drug necessarily. I see it as the way I'd put it is communion with God. You know
Mm.
how that in the Catholic Church to have the bread that represents the body of Christ. Like
Mm.
literally, I see it as like you're having a communion, direct line relationship with the source, the creator, the energy, the universe, whatever you want to call it. And it's so invaluable. But one thing you have to be aware of is if you go in there authentically, there's no way you're not going to change. Like,
Mm. Yeah.
it's going to happen.
You want it or not.
I heard this MMA fighter. He's quite famous. He's called Israel Adesanya. He's a UFC champion, and he said, "I'm going to wait to do ayahuasca until I've retired because I've got this feeling that I won't be able to fight other people once I've taken
Yeah.
the medicine." And I was like, "Well, that's very insightful, man. Like, that's very insightful." So, which experiences stand out to you, Gianni, as things that really helped you see the world differently? Obviously, that first one sounded magnificent in that regard, but were there any that really stood out for you that helped deepen your relationship with yourself and understanding of yourself?
But I think that because I had a lot, it's difficult to say. But yes, like if I can mention one that really changed my the perspective on this reality and the perspective of who I am, like who is this Gianni, who is this body that people call Gianni. Like this was basically was after my first ayahuasca ceremony. That was a mess. Was not like was not good in a way that you want to. Okay, it was not the perfect experience to took ayahuasca, but for me was totally positive. But basically, after this ceremony, we were in north of Italy, and this amazing villa with a lot of forest, a lot of a huge garden. And basically, after the ceremony, I stayed almost 1 week in this villa because I met the owner of the villa, and he told me we really connected in a nice way. And they told me, no, you can stay here as much as you want. So I deleted my appointment at the studio. I was supposed to take my plane to go back to Sicily. I called my assistant and say like, oh, I have to stay here more. Just delete my appointment for the rest of the week. I stay here. Uh, so basically, with one of this guy that we stayed in this villa, this guy was doing by himself changa. Yeah, he was doing, changa. For the people that doesn't know, it's a mix between of DMT and other herbs. It can be other herbs. There was even you can put even some hashish inside, some stuff that basically are able to prolong the effect of DMT. Because DMT, when it looks pure, is really powerful, but it really have a really short effects, like last 5 or 6 minutes, 8 minutes. Changa lasts a bit more. It can be up to 20 minutes, half an hour. So
And
basically, we
it's
were
inhaled, isn't it, Gianni? Just for people who don't know, you usually inhale um,
yeah, you smoke it.
changa.
Yeah, you
You
smoke
smoke it.
changa. It's like you use a pipe. We used a water pipe for smoking this changa. We were in this amazing garden. So this guy passed me the pipe, and for me was my first time. I was trying changa. So basically, I smoked the first pop, the second pop, and the second pop, I just felt like the blanket. that we have that cover the reality that that like yeah, this blanket just was thrown up, was just opened, and it was like look, this is this is the real reality, And I start to see that all the trees, all the leaves, all the grass, what they were moving, and they were like connected by each other. As I was feeling, I was seeing the energy of the tree that they were going through the earth. Was amazing. So I just stand up and I start to look around me, and I saw that there was all this like ray of light that from my body, from all the pores of my skin, they were going to other beings. They were going to some trees, to some plants, to some bushes, and I start to walk around this garden, and I looked to the sun. The sun was like 5 p.m. in the evening, was like springtime, so it was this amazing sun. And I looked at the sun, and the light of the sun was not burning my eyes. I was able to look into the sun with no problem. And then so I just to start to fix my attention to the sun, and from the sun start to pulse, like the pulse, like a pulsation of light,
Yeah.
and then a spiral of light came out from the sun, and thus start to spiral around me and go wider and wider and wider, and then suddenly this spiral of light start to shape in different beings. Basically, there was this spiral of light was transformed in a multitude, I don't know, 20, 50, hundreds beings made of light. And these beings, they
Wow.
were like always changing the shape. They were like male, female, old, young. They were all there. I think that the only name that I can give to these beings, they were like angels, like because
Mm.
they have light body, they were changing, no sex, no age. For me, they were angel, and they were looking at me, and they look at me, and they start to ask me question. And the first thing that I understood, that these beings, they know everything already about me. They know everything, and they love me as I am, with all my defect, with all my trauma, with all my stuff. They love me, and they start me to ask question. And the main question was always, "Who are you?" And I say like, "Oh, who I am?" I say, I'm Gianni," and they tell me like, "No, Gianni is just a name. Like, who are you?" And I say like I'm a dentist. Like they tell me like, no, no, it's not. Dentist is just your job. Like who are you? Okay, I'm a human being. I'm a human being. They told me, yes, you are a human being, but you are not just a human being. Like who are you again? And I said like, oh, so yes, maybe I have a soul, and I am a soul too that is living this in this body. I said like, yes, this is like quite correct. So like, where was your soul before your body was born in this on the earth? And I say like, I don't know. Like I think maybe this soul was alive, was here even before my body was present in this reality. And they tell me yes. And where you and what happened to this soul when you will die, when this body will be not here anymore? And I say like, so I don't know where will be, but yeah, I think that even if my body will die, I think that this soul will continue, will last uh, for the rest of the eternity. So yes, that's true. So like, who are you again? And I start to make my brain connection. Okay, so like, I'm not just this body. I am a soul, and this soul is eternal. It was here before Gianni was here, and this soul will be here after Gianni will be not anymore here. So I'm immortal. And I say, okay, who is immortal? Who is eternal? I say like, God. And they tell me yes. So like, who are you? And I say like, oh fuck. They say like, am I God? And they start to smile at me, and they say like, yes, like you are God, remember it. You are God. You are not just Gianni. You are not just the body. You are God. And then this happened. I start to cry. You know, it was just tears from really like liters of tears from my face. I start to cry, and to realize this, and it's like, oh fuck, like I am God. This is real. I am God, and I don't say Gianni is God. Like I am part of this, and it's like Gianni is just a tiny fraction of what is this God, of this universe, this energy. You can call it as you want. I say like yes, like okay, realize I am God. And they told me as yeah, so you are God. And what God is doing? What is the mean of God? And they say like what God do is create. God created everything. And they told me yes, like you are God and you can create whatever you want. What you want to do, you can create it because this is why you are here. And when I realized this, I was like really again crying because I'm really a really emotive person too. So I start to cry for this happiness, for this realization, and they start to really smile at me, and send me like the most powerful love or light, whatever. Like they give me all this love, and then they say me that just goodbye. Like now we told you what we have to told. Like goodbye. So they start to spiral again around me, and they transformed again into this spiral of light, and they came back again into the sun. So I start to continue to look the sun, and the sun start again to buzz, but to buzz in a really like powerful way. And then at a certain moment, the sun basically exploded. The sun exploded, and I was surrounded by this huge, like everything was white, just pure white light around me. You know what? I think everyone saw Matrix. You know the white room of Matrix, where everything was
Oh, yeah.
white. I had this like, and it was like poof, like an explosion in my face, and I had this like what the fuck is this? When I had this, I saw this white room, and then suddenly the reality, the normal reality, just came back, and I was again in that garden with this like tree, with all the surrounding, with the birds and everything. But I was like super shocked. I was like what happened to this? But for me, like this white light, this being in the white room, was the proof of this, that okay, this universe, this reality that I am experiencing is just a white room, and in this white room I can create whatever I want. Like this is why I am here, to create my reality, to create what I love, what I want, what I want for me, what I want for the others. Like this is the meaning of Gianni being here. So yeah, I think this was a really profound
It
experience
sounds it.
that
Yeah, man, it sounds it. So that it's really interesting because this is something that has been kind of coming up with me a lot recently. It's interesting that you say that about creation, almost manifesting the reality you wish to exist in, creating the circumstances that you want to have, and it's a weird one, man. Like when you start getting into that, because it's not the way that we've been taught at school that things work. Right?
no, completely.
But you do start to touch on, and I think I'm just scratching the surface of this. I don't think I'm fully there or anything yet, but you start to scratch the surface that actually your inner world really
Mm,
does reflect the outer world, much more in a one-to-one fashion than you actually think. Um, so, what kind of
mm.
how have you taken that further? How have you taken that forward? That kind of idea about creating your reality, and how's that gone? How's that going in terms of It sounds cool when the van just
Yeah, that's the
disappeared from your
point.
friend and stuff. Yeah, yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, exactly. I think for me, I don't have an answer to all this, but what I just experienced it in these last years, this experience with Changa was 2018, I think. Yeah, it was yeah, it was just before I went to Berlin, and I think I went to Berlin because of this, even because of this experience, because basically it was this experience with MDMA. Then after the experience of MDMA, the ayahuasca ceremony came to me too. This was not something that I was looking. I was like, if you want, I can just briefly explain how I get to the ayahuasca ceremony. Like I didn't know nothing about what was ayahuasca, what was DMT, all this stuff. I was just with a friend of mine texting on WhatsApp. He's a dentist too. He's the guy who introduced me to Dentosophic,
Oh,
and we
sorry,
were like
Gianni. Hang on.
texting, and this guy told me, "Oh,
Hang on
like
a
wait a
second.
moment, I'm receiving a call." We were just talking about something else totally, and he told me, "Oh, look, I have one guy's called me. I will text you back in 5 minutes." After 5 minutes, he texts me. He tell me, "Oh yeah, this guy like he invite me to this ayahuasca ceremony. It was not ayahuasca, it was Urema. That is like this the Brazilian version of ayahuasca." And when I wrote this message, like something happened to me. I didn't know nothing about what was Urema and stuff. I went to a sort of autopilot. I went out from WhatsApp. I went to Skyscanner, and I booked a flight to to Perugia to go to this ayahuasca session without knowing nothing. Then when I made the ticket, was I just came back to my consciousness. I don't know. I said like, look, I don't know what happened, but I made a ticket for to this ceremony. So tell to this tell to your friends that I will join the ceremony too. And so this is like, and really I don't have any explanation about how this happened. It just happened. I was just supposed to be there in that moment and make this experience with the ayahuasca, and was amazing. So yeah, like about creating our reality is it's something that I think go back and no go but it go in waves. I think I have period of my life where really I am in control of the universe. Like I'm really manifesting quickly. I want this and this happen. Like I need a van, the van just came. I want to meet this person and this even without talking, without chatting. I'm just meet this person like in the street with no text, nothing. So I have this period of like where I'm in the synchronicity, or I'm manifesting. I know you can give a lot of name to this feeling, to what happened, and period that I'm not in this. I maybe I come back to more my physical human reality, and I had problems. I have difficulty like everyone else. So I think one important message for me, like for people that want to experience with psychedelics, is that they are not the shortcut for nothing. They are not shortcut for okay, like I want to be in the stage. I will take ayahuasca every month, or I will do mushroom session every week or whatever. For me, they are just tools. They're just master. They just teach you way that you can be. They can teach you like if you want to discover more yourself, like there is this tool. If you want to see how is the reality, like the real reality, take this. Like you have, but they are not something
Yeah.
that you have to take it
No,
like in
I agree
a
with
as
you. I agree
a
with you
as a
for sure.
habit. This is
Do
my
you feel like, what's your
my thought.
experience, Gianni? Do you feel like people are opening up to psychedelics more and more as time's passing? Or like, what's your experience been? Do you feel like people are opening up more to it?
Yeah, I think there is a sort of they call it the second psychedelics wave now. Like the psychedelic, like we have the first during the 70s, the 60s, the first with the flower power, all this stuff. We had the first psychedelic wave that ended in a really bad way, I think, with all the regulation, all this stuff. That was for me was bad because what they showed to us was just the Woodstock and people getting high, and nobody was talking about
Mm.
the use of these tools in a medical way. So we had this 30 years of really like taboo and like this black period for psychedelics, and now something is moving on. Something is happening. A lot of university, a lot of research association. They are putting again on the table psychedelic for a medical use, for a therapeutic use, and so I'm happy. I'm happy that this is happening again, and from this is from the good side. From the bad side, especially I was living in Berlin, I saw that a lot of people they are taking psychedelics in a not so correct way. That there is an abuse on the other side. Uh, so I think that everything happened for a reason. So you need if you want to have something good from one side, you have to allow to the other side that something bad can happen. But I prefer to have like a society that is more used to psychedelics and not a society that is more used to other substances like cocaine, for example, or heroin, or this kind of tool, that kind of things that are not they are not so good. They are really like destroying the life of the people, destroying the literally the brain
Yeah, and it's
of a lot
interesting
of
because in the
people.
60s,
This is what
there was the
what I think.
Vietnam War and all these other things going on, quite a tumultuous time period. Sorry,
Sorry,
can you hear me
I
now?
can't hear you properly. The volume
Yeah,
of your microphone,
bit
maybe.
more. Now can you hear me?
Yeah, a
Perfect.
bit
Okay,
more, maybe.
okay, cool.
Yeah, now it's perfect. Yeah, I was thinking
So
about my
yeah,
phone, but it's
base.
like it's
Hang on, let
new.
me
Like
just
how is
drop that.
possible? Like
Yeah.
no.
So basically, there was quite a tumultuous time in the 60s when we had all this, war and all of these things going on. And then obviously psychedelics were a big part of what happened at that time. And then I feel like we're kind of heading into another kind of tumultuous geopolitical time. And it's kind of funny that psychedelics are coming back with quite a big presence right now. Probably because they're needed, What do you think, Gianni, with regards to, a lot of people in society are suffering with anxiety, or suffering with depression? Obviously, neither of us are psychologists, but what do you think is the root cause of that? Given you're someone who lives a nomadic lifestyle, which is a completely different lifestyle to the normal Western kind of routine, what's kind of your take on depression and anxiety in our society at the moment?
For me, it's like I was depressed, so I can so I can tell you this. Like for me, like I have experience in this field too. So for me, it's this like for me, it depends the reason of why you are depressed. Like I think more people they are depressed because they are living a life that they don't want to live. Maybe because they have like a job that they don't like. They're living toxic relationship. They are no they have something that is not going as they want. But at the same time, a lot of this person they don't have an escape. They don't, or at least they don't find. Yeah, they didn't find yet an escape or a solution to this problem. For me, for example, the escape. Sorry, I'm Italian, so with English sometimes I get lost. But yeah, so for me, like the way I went out from my depression. The depression was after I had a motorbike accident that really hurt me, and I had to stop for 3 months almost. And yeah, but the way I went out from depression for me was like leaving everything behind and start to travel. I say, okay, like I want to go to the farthest place on earth that I can do, like far from my life, far from my friend, from my family, from everything I, I'm experiencing now. Because like in this place, in
Mm.
this context, in this social surrounding that I have, I'm not happy. I'm
All right.
depressed. So so I took a flight for Tokyo, one way. I went to Japan. I went to Japan like this, and I was not. And for people, like a lot of people tell me, like yes, because you are a dentist, you had a lot of money in the bank, so you can just go. Like no, I had like I think less than less than 2,000 euro in my pocket, and I made like one-way ticket. Like I don't know when I will go back to Europe, and if I will go back to Sicily, to Europe. So like when I took the first step, like for me it was like, okay, ticket, fly, go away. So like when you do the first step to and you accept, okay, like I don't like my life, I will do something for changing, for change my life. I think this is the moment when when the universe, when God, when whatever, the energy like may start to work for you. Because if you don't react, if you just are complaining every day of your life that you don't like this, you know, like
Mm.
you will not do nothing special. You will nothing will change. Like uh, and for me, like start to traveling, going to Japan, then went to China, then Thailand, Korea, all this stuff. We don't having any program, any plan. I was just following what the universe was telling me, and for me was a great experience. I'm I was there and I met this person. This person bring me to in Japan. They bring me to scale the Fuji volcano. I didn't have any equipment. I didn't have like hiking boots, nothing. I was just there, and just for the reason I say to this guy, yes, I will come to you. No matter what, I will find a way to come with you. With you, I found like a pair of boots in a restroom. I found that the one guy give me a jacket. Whether so like just like this, something happened because I make the first step. So for a lot of people that they are trapped in this like how you call the hamster wheel. For me, it's like if you want
Mm.
to do something, you have to just step up from the hamster wheel. Like don't have fear. Like don't have like you don't leave a hole. What will happen, and then I will get on the street like with nothing. Like no, like if you if you're really in this situation and you are not able to stay in this hamster wheel, just step out. Don't worry if you don't have money, if you don't have a place, if you are scared. If you do it, something will happen. And it is like my experience. But then because I start to do this kind of life, and I met other people that they had the same exact experience like me. They were like me, just in different perspective, because they were not dentists. Maybe they were engineer. They were like whatever, waiter. They whatever whatever. They just we all had the same experience. Like when I took the first step, when I had the courage to go out from the situation, then something happened. And for me,
Mm.
psychedelic was just they were just confirmation tools. Like I was already in this path of transformation. I was just in this path of like rediscovering myself, and then the
Go
psychedelics they
higher.
give me like the
Yeah.
the the way to boost, maybe to go high. Yeah, but for example, now I don't take psychedelics anymore. Like I'm not. I took it for like I think 1 year, 1 year and a half. I had these experiences with psychedelics, and but now I feel okay. I good. I don't need anymore to take any psychedelic. I'm always high, and I don't need to take psychedelics to be high, because when you step up from your comfort zone, when you put all your effort in what you really want to do and not in what other people tell you that this is the correct way. Yeah, you have to work, make money, buy all do all this like materialistic stuff. When you step out from this, then you have no reason to be depressed. You have no reason to be sad, because everything is already perfect. You don't need nothing really. Okay, I'm not the one that's like allow, like if you buy a 100,000 euro car, you're a bad person, or if you have a villa, you're a bad. No. For me, it's like, even for me, my aim is this. My aim is even like one day I would love to have like a nice villa with the garden or stuff. Even for me, it's like even like in a community way, so with other people living together in a sort of like a paradise on earth. This is my stuff. But and I love motorbike. Even if I had an accident, I want to have back my motorbike, my Ducati, and travel with them. So I want this, but this is not the reason why I'm working. This is not like I'm not working for having money to buy this stuff. I'm working because I like to work. I like to help people. I like to help people to heal, to find different way to be happy and to enjoy their life. And I think and I hope that this will bring me abundance. I would say money or whatever. So this is like is not the reason why I'm doing my work, but this is the reason.
Mm.
This is what happened when I do my job in a good way. Right now, I'm living my nomadic life. We have our van, our we call it it's our villa. It's a villa. Yeah, I'm
Nice.
right now. I am I think 100 meters from the beach here. Like so, like like if you find another villa that is 100 meters from the beach, and then you can move it to the mountain. If I want, if it's too hot, I just take it and go to the mountain where it's fresher. Like for me, right now it's okay, and this is what I need right now. Maybe in couple of months, years, who know, maybe I will need to be more stable, and I want something different.
We get in this trap, right, of living in this very materialistic world. It's because we've been taught this. We've been taught to do it like this. Our parents, we model after them, and the people that we see around us, we model after them. But there is a better way. You know, you don't have to be chasing things in the world to be happy. And we've kind of all been sold a lie that materialism is the answer, right? And this excess of more and more and more and more. And I think that it's very good to hear a message that's different to that, you know. So I think for everyone listening, your experience and how you're living your life and your journey with psychedelics, and obviously now that you've kind of evolved past that, I think it's very insightful and very helpful to a lot of people. So I could talk to you for ages, Gianni. Thank you so much for your time. And is there anything else you wanted to end on, Gianni? Any last points that you want to make to the listeners? Anything that you want them to take away with them?
I want to say something that was from Terence McKenna. This is one of my master. It's like, take it easy, but take it. It's like this for me, like, but this is like the way I approach with life. Take it easy, but take it. Like, do something. For me, it's like don't stay. Don't let your fears, your trauma, your stuff stop you. Like, act, create. As was said, God, create. You are here for create. So like, in a way or another, you have to create your own life. Don't live the life that someone else, society, parents, friends told you that is the correct way to live. Like, I think that everyone have a passion. Can be a sport, can be your job. I see that you love your job. I can see it, like you and you love to share what is your even all the tips and the stuff to have a practice. So I can see that you are happy because you are doing what you love to do, and so this is the aim that I have to for all the people: do what you love to do, no matter what, no matter how. Like don't listen the other voice.
You don't want to be waking up when you're 65,
Exactly.
70 and think, you know what, I wish I'd done it different.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, that's your English is fantastic, mate. You know, you really put us all to shame in England because we don't have second languages that we speak this well. But well done, man. And I have to say, you articulated yourself beautifully. So again, thank you so much for your time.